All right, welcome. Thank you for joining us all today. We'll go ahead and get started. My name is Chelsea Deaton. I'm an investor relations manager at United Way of Racine County. Excited that you can be here with us for this impact tour featuring Racine Vocational Ministry this month. And with us to tell us about Racine Vocational Ministry, we have Jim Schatzman, the executive director, Lori Life, the program director, and Endo Williams, program participant. So we look forward to hearing from the three of you about RVM a little bit more. If you could start us off, Jim, just kind of tell us a little bit about what is RVM, what is your mission in the community?
Racine Vocational Ministry is an organization that helps people on the margins really come back into full civic life. We really take the word vocation very seriously. If you really look up the roots of vocation, it's not just about work. We think of vocation specifically as work. Really, vocation, the Latin root of that is a calling. And so what we're helping people to do is to identify where they fit into the world, how their kind of personal mission creates a stronger and better and more vital community. And work is a part of that. Matter of fact, it's an important part of that, but it's not the central part of that. The central part is what am I called to do? How am I called to engage in the community around me? And so we've been doing that since 2002. We've helped over 4,800 people get jobs and get into critical trainings to help them find that and fine-tune that personal mission. And we've helped people like Endo to not only just, you get their first job, but to find their mission in life and what gives them buzz and passion about engaging in a healthy community.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jim. So as a United Way funded partner, can you tell us how you have benefited from that relationship that you have with United Way of Racine County?
United Way is actually one of the earliest funders that we had. It was a remarkable situation. We started in early 2002 and began building the relationships that would be critical to us. Very early in 2003, the United Way began we started building a relationship. They liked our mission and what we were working towards. And really that early kickoff by United Way was like a calling card and a sense of legitimation to funders all around the area. When United Way funds somebody, I think regional and national partners know that the local community knows who they are, knows what they're doing, and so it's like a validation that this is an organization that's been vetted. We know that they do good work, and so really it was kind of a springboard into greater funding and growing the organization. It's almost as like seed money that helped us to grow to where we are today.
Wonderful. Congrats on your 20th anniversary. That's exciting. So specifically, I'd like to focus us in on your RVM employment program, which is sometimes referred to as the WalkIn Program. That program, I believe, is 20 years as well. That was one of your original programs. How has that? Okay, how is that? Has that changed a little bit over the years, or?
The WalkIn Program is kind of what we're known for. This is how we started, and for the first several years of our existence, this was the sole program that we funded and worked in, and so this program is 20 years old this year, and it's I think it's how people think of us when people are asked, what RVM is. They think, well, that's the jobs group. That's the people that help people get back to work, and so that's kind of still I think our main identifier out in the community, and that's United Way has helped with that. I mean, as you're marketing and sharing our materials with partners and with the community in general, has helped to create that brand.
Wonderful. So Lori, as the program director, maybe you could tell us what does this program look like on a day-to-day basis, or if someone shows up and says, I've heard of your walk-in program. What does that mean when they arrive at RVM?
So sure. So we usually start with the referral process, and that's usually with a phone call from a service provider within the community or an email from someone. Or if the person just walks in the door, of course, we're not going to turn them away and send them away. But we typically want to start with that phone call from someone that says, hey, I have someone that might be interested in your services. And so we start with that. The next step would be having that person complete an intake. And that intake helps us to determine someone's eligibility either for services here at RVM, or if we may need to connect them with another partner provider within the community. Our aim is to help them be successful. So if we feel like we're not quite the match for them, then we definitely want to get them to another provider that might be able to assist them and support them better. Once they complete that intake, then next steps are to get them enrolled in a 4-day employment training class. If that training class is not available right away, then we'll continue to see them one-on-one discussing some of the things that we would discuss in the 4-day employment training class. That would be some of the job readiness pieces. What does it mean to get a job? What being motivated to work, what does that look like? What is that all about? What are some things that need to be in place even before somebody is actually doing a job search? We call it that pre-readiness. Do they have the appropriate documents? And so we'll tackle some of those pieces as well. Once they typically go through the job readiness training, then they'll begin to work with the case manager one-on-one, more specifically toward job goals. And then once they're placed in a job, they're more career-oriented goals. And so there's definitely a process. Usually the first few steps probably take about 3 to 4 weeks to kind of get through all of those pieces. But then there's that continuance of helping someone to maintain employment and then helping them to look towards some career objectives as well.
How many case managers do you have helping with that program?
We have 2 case managers that are assigned to help with walk-in and homeless clients. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Wonderful. Yes, Jim or Lori, either of you. So as someone is going through this program and getting trained, is the bulk of their preparation done in groups or classes or individually, or is it a combination of the two?
The bulk of the training, we call it like the bones, the solutions for success training being kind of the bones, the bare bones, where we just get to make some further assessments and help people to begin to think about some aspects. Once that's done, we kind of feel like the heart of what people receive is in the case management portion of the services. And so that's their time one-on-one to maybe even talk about things that they weren't able to talk about within the 4-day, the group setting. It's definitely more intimate and it's more tailored towards some of their needs.
Yeah, I would add too that once a person gets into case management, we're really beginning to assess what are this person's dreams, where do they want to be, how do they see their life unfolding 4 or 5 years from now, and as well as how they see their life unfolding in the next couple of months. And so you need to start those, once somebody starts in the case management process, we're trying to figure out how to get enough traction underneath them that they can begin to deal with some of the often crisis issues they have when they come. They may be about to be thrown out of their apartment. They may have just returned out of jail and they're not quite sure how to engage or how to even talk to an employer about their incarceration issues. We know they can't be avoided. They're going to do a background check. So how do you speak to that in a way that's strength-based? How do you speak to that in a way where you see where the employer begins to understand that you've worked through some of these issues? How do we begin to reestablish possibly family relationships. A lot of people who come to see us, those family relationships have been fractured pretty deeply. You know, mom and dad are not that interested in seeing them. Their sister may be the last person they saw before they were incarcerated when they stole their TV for their last fix. I mean, there are a lot of things that need to be managed when a person is trying to put their life back together. And so we're trying to manage all of those pieces, not just the job piece, but helping people to understand if their life's not stable, if they don't have a couple people they can really rely on for rides or for help and assistance in different kinds of ways, or just someone to listen to, that they're probably not job ready. They're not going to be able to maintain a job. You know, they'll need a ride somewhere. There's nobody to call. You know, they will, quite frankly, when your life is not together, your health is often not very good. And so you're not going to be able to maintain that job. Or if your outlook on life is still that there's nobody there for me, you know, I don't have any hope moving forward. That's not a very engaging personality trait to begin to, or way to engage the world around you. And so really the case management piece starts by trying to get things together around you in your life in the immediate. And then there's that second part of starting to think out a little longer, where you're saying, you know, well, I would like to go to school. Sure, I need a factory job now. Probably that's what I'm skilled to do. But I'd like to be a social worker. You know, so where do I go to school? Can I start a gateway? Do I go what colleges? How do I fill out college paperwork? I mean, it becomes a self-driven way for them to understand that there is optimism. There are pathways that if they begin to follow those pathways, they can begin to access some of these things that they want to do, want to build towards, and help support them when they realize quickly, like we all do, that this is a lot more work than we thought going into it. And maintaining a job, building a relationship, rebuilding a relationship with the children, or your children's other parent, being able to maintain a household, going from jail or homelessness to that is quite a ride, and it's going to be pretty intense. There's going to be a lot of things to manage, and some things will not go as smoothly as you thought. And so helping people to stay hopeful, helping them to see where they are making progress, and celebrating that so they don't get discouraged because they're not hitting their ultimate goal, is all part of the case management process.
Wonderful. So, Endel, as a program participant, we would kind of like your perspective on what was your experience like with the program, and how has that impacted your life since kind of connecting up with RVM?
Well, I never liked the program, it was amazing. At first, when I was referred here through a guy over at the work, no, I came here and because of a referral from a guy at the workforce some years ago, and all I wanted was a job. I didn't want no relationship with nobody. I just give me a job. And then when I got here, I learned that they're not in a position to give me anything. That was the first lesson I learned when I walked through the door. And from that, just coming and having somebody having an outlet, someone I can talk to without being judged because of my past convictions and my situations with the system and all. That's what I was accustomed to. But coming here was a little different. I didn't have to deal with that. So that allowed me to kind of let down that wall I had with my trust issues and whatnot. And from there, I was referred back to a program at the workforce. And it was an electrician class. And I went through here, I did that. And I remember one of the requirements was that you have your CDL permits. But if you wanted your CDLs, they would pay for it. I was like, well, I really don't have no interest or desire to drive no truck. But I'm thinking like, I'm coming back here, I'm talking to Jim and Sherry at the time. And it was like, you should go for it. I said, really? Like, okay. So I went for it and I got it. And from there, that allowed me to get the city job that I obtained, which was at the water department, and that was one of the requirements of CDL. And just the whole nine, just having somebody to confide in, and again, not throw it back in my face at a later date for what they've done for me. I didn't have to deal with any of that, and it allowed me to embrace my transformation, accept my change in who I was as an individual trying to make it, you know, with that baggage on my back coming out of prison, you know, after sitting for so long. And I was able to do that, reconnect with my children, you know, pay my child support debt, just the whole nine. Purchasing my first home shortly thereafter my release. You know, just having this as an outlet at all times. It's 2022. I've been coming here since 2002. You know what I'm saying? So I think that speaks volumes of the program and the people that the program surround themselves with, for somebody like me to continue to come. And they, you know, they don't pay me to speak. They don't pay me to come. I come on my own. I come because I care. I come because I want to. And I was sitting down some years ago thinking of a way to give back on a larger scale, right? And I came up with this program called Choices Change Lives, which I incorporated into the prison system, letting the guys know I'm not the voice of all convicted felons. I'm just a convicted felon with a voice. And me coming back in is not only therapeutic to you, but it's therapeutic to me as well. And I'm here to show you that you can make it. Look at me. I'm just one of many. You know what I mean? And a lot of the guys' story is no different from mine, but they don't believe they can do anything outside of being a convicted felon. And I'm here to tell you that you can. How bad do you want? You know, and I push accountability a long way because ultimately it comes down to us. We can point the finger and we can use the crutch of excuses if we want to, but that's only hindering us as people trying to move forward. We're not getting anywhere, you know. Yeah. So I do my best and to just be authentic as I can be and let them know, hey, there's another way other than what you're choosing.
Wonderful. So that Choices Change Lives program is a mentorship program that has been established now for.
Yes.
Very cool. Wonderful. That's excellent when you can transition from not just the role of participant, but also looking for those ways to give back. That's great, Endel. Right. So on the topic of impact, it sounds like RVM had a huge impact on your life. Do you have some general stats about impact in the community for us, Jim, in terms of how many people you've helped or?
Yes, I would say, you know, like I said, over the course of the years, we've helped over 4,800 people kind of get back into their groove of either a job or training for a job. And one of the things that I think when Endo was sharing his story, I was reminded that, you know, it's not just about getting that job. After he had a job for years, we would get together and talk about what it would be like to, you know, develop a program and talked about some of the ideas that might be in that program that we shared. When Endo considered going back to school, you know, we were talking about, you know, how to fill out the forms, writing letters of recommendation, and things like that. So steps along the way, this has been an evolution for Endo and a lot of others. And we have, I was just handling some of this data the other day. Of the 200 people that come in for intake a year, usually about 70% of them get work. And so a good percentage of them get work and get that first job. But really the work of RVM is what happens beyond that first job. Not only do they get that job, but do they maintain that job? And if they maintain that job, they're making community impact already. They're taking full participation in the economy. They're paying taxes that support our community. You know, we talk to our folks about getting involved in the lives of their children and going to PTA meetings, which a lot of our guys have never been to a PTA meeting, don't even know what that is. And so getting them to kind of participate in that level in their children's lives, you know, helping them to understand how to hit these goals as they move forward. As Endo said, he started an electrician's program with a contractor and ended up with the city making several more dollars an hour and building wealth through his, a significant living wage job, which allowed him to purchase a house, and then allowed him to purchase a second house and a third house as he began to, flip houses and begin to create some wealth that way. And talking about how these things work. And then Endel becomes a mentor in our organization as well. He's recommended people to us who are in the same place right now. They've developed a certain amount of wealth. They now own homes or are flipping homes. They run their own businesses, and they aspire to, one of them is aspiring to start a trucking company. We've talked a couple times about how the kind of things you have to do to make that happen. And so this is not just about getting a job. And so about 30 to 40 people a year of the people we're tracking get promoted within their job or move up to another level at another company. And every year, an average, about 7 people a year come through, start really getting on a career path where they're really developing careers that oftentimes may give back, and so Choices Change Lives is one of those examples of another participant, Carl, who also teaches a program at the Youthful Offender Facility in RCI. And so these are ways that folks have given back to change the world around them for the better, to offer their lived experience as an opportunity to create more understanding. Endel has been a speaker for me to a lot of community groups who are, for lack of a better way of saying it, pretty white, pretty unaware of what's going on in the legal system. And Endel has shared that with Kiwanis clubs and NA, other groups, AAUW and others like that, to help them understand what's going on in the broader community. So he's taken part in kind of educational, and a number of our other people have done that. So about 30 people a year get promoted in their career path, and 7 people a year on average are really locking into their career path. They're getting educated, they're getting promoted in their jobs, and they're moving into their fields of study.
So I'm glad you brought up demographics. I'm wondering, in terms of who you serve, how that looks. Do you serve women? Are they included? What's the situation there?
Actually, some of that information very close to my hands as I was working on a United Way report for Kenosha. We have our demographic is kind of skewed between people from 20 to 54 is kind of the majority of people that we're working with. The ethnic breakdown is that about 50% of the people we work with are people of color. That's pretty much skewed towards African Americans. About 30% of the people we work with are African Americans, and about 50% of the people that we work with are of a Caucasian descent. The vast majority of people who see us are below the poverty line. When they come in, they're almost all of them are more than 200% of the poverty level. And so we're working with people who have been out of work probably for quite some time, and whose job skills are actually quite low. So they're competing with the vast majority of people for the smallest group of jobs. So we're helping them to kind of shape their resumes and shape their interview techniques towards what makes them unique, what makes them less of a risk, what makes them, even though they may not look very good on paper, why they're the best person to hire for this job, and helping them to articulate that. And generally our gender mix is about 60% or 65% men and 35 to 40% women, depending on the given year.
Okay. If any of you had a question, if you want to drop that in the chat. We are kind of winding down, but I don't want to stop you if you had an important question that you wanted to ask. I'll keep an eye out for that. In the meantime, you've mentioned a couple different places, but are there some specific community partnerships or resources that you use regularly as you're offering your services?
I think our biggest partnership is probably the continuum of care that's working with homelessness, over 20 agencies are working together to make sure that people are not only getting into homes, but they're getting employment opportunities so they can sustain that housing moving forward. And so that's one of our largest partnerships. We have smaller groups that are working on prison reentry with the Department of Corrections and local officials in Racine and Kenosha. And those are kind of the two principal partnerships that we're working with. We also work pretty close with the Workforce Development Center. RVM has been kind of identified as a really good trainer, and thanks to Lori and the program that she's running, our Solutions for Success class is now being taught at the county for people in their boot camps, as well as people who are coming to them for job support. And also, we've begun working with some people from the Elevate program for child support and helping them to understand how to get employment and how to keep that employment once they get it.
Wonderful. I was going to ask you if there are any misconceptions about your company, and I think you've touched on this a little bit, but just so that you have the chance to clarify.
Yeah, one of the main misconceptions is that we're a contract agency, that people show up and we have 500 jobs ready to just send people out to. That's really what our partners do. We're very close contract with contract agencies as well as companies out in the community. And so when you come to RVM, you're going to learn how to keep a job. Very often people who come to see us, they've had multiple jobs, some of them 20 or 30 jobs in their lifetime, none of them more than 6 months or a year. And so we want to help people to get connected to a job that leads to a career path, that leads to promotions, that leads to a really solid relationship with an employer, so that when they move on to a new employer or another position, it's on their terms. They understand why they're doing it, and it's a move forward, not just simply 30 lateral moves that don't even move you into the living wage area. So we're helping people to understand that. And is that critical? When they go out and get 4 jobs after they've seen you and kept none of them for 4 months or more, then they come back and go, okay, I think I understand what you were talking about. And so there's some re-education that happens that way of what it means to be promotable and what it means to be of value to your company, such that you can get promotions and better jobs as you move through.
So we had a question. Someone was wondering if Halo is one of the places that sends you referrals. Do you work with?
Yes.
Okay.
Lori, you want to talk about that a little?
So yes, we do have a partnership with Halo. We get referrals from them on a regular basis, and so we are looking pre-pandemic. I'm sorry, we were doing regular workshops at Halo as well, and so just had a meeting with the case managers, the case management staff at Halo about 2 weeks ago. We're looking to get that back in order coming up within the next couple of weeks, so that we'll be going over there actually doing some of the Solutions for Success training that we do here at RVM, and at other locations will be done at Halo as well.
Very cool. All right. So I want to thank you guys for being with us today and telling us about RVM. For those of you who are joining and learning more about RVM, they are looking for people willing to volunteer with some data entry or with their clothes closet. December 1st, they have an annual recognition event coming out, and I'm sure that more details will be coming out as that gets a little bit closer. We invite you to join us for our next Impact Tour on October 19th about the Transitional Living Center, and then, monthly after that we'll continue on. And I really just want to take this chance to remind you, when you support United Way, this is the kind of program that you're funding. You're helping to make this impact in the community. So there's a place to give on our website, or when the company campaign comes around in the next few weeks, think about this impact that RVM is having and that all these other funded partners are having, and join us in really making that difference in our community. So thanks for being with us today.
Thank you all. Nice to talk to you.